Colonial cities. As the British gradually acquired political control after the Battle of Plassey in 1757 and the trade of the East India Company expanded, colonial port cities such as Madras, Chennai, Calcutta, Kolkata, and Bombay, Mumbai became presidency cities. They became centers of British power in the different regions of India. New occupations emerged and people flocked to these colonial cities. By about 1800, these were the biggest cities in India in terms of population. Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras were the first cities built by the British. After the revolt of 1857, British built a new capital in Delhi. Two architects, Edwin Littins and Herbert Baker, designed New Delhi and its buildings. The capital city, New Delhi, needed broad and straight streets. It had to be green with trees and parks, ensuring fresh air and adequate open space. The 2 miles long Rajpath leading to Viceroy's Palace, now Rashtrapati Bhavan, with the Secretariat buildings on either sides of Rajpath, became the chief feature of New Delhi. India Gate and Connaught Place added to the grandeur of the city. Growth of Madras as a colonial city. Fort St. George became the center of the white town where the Europeans lived. Non-whites were not allowed to live in this area. So, the non-white population lived outside the fort. This area was called the Black Town. Here lived the Indian weavers, artisans, middlemen, and interpreters who played a vital role in the company's trade. This area was a traditional Indian town with houses built around temples and bazaars. There were narrow lanes along which people lived according to their specific caste groups. Thus, the town planning of Madras was very much along racial lines. Town planning in Calcutta. In order to defend Calcutta, the British decided to build a new fort, one that could not be easily attacked. This was the Fort William. Around the fort, they left a vast open space so that there is no obstruction in firing an advancing enemy army. This vast open space around the fort has become a landmark of Calcutta.
The British also tried to clean up Calcutta by clearing excessive vegetation, dirty tanks, and poor drainage.
These conditions alarmed the British because they knew that poisonous gases from marshlands and pools of stagnant water gave birth to several diseases. Thus, public health became the prime basis for cleaning and sustainable town planning. Town planning in Bombay. Bombay was the commercial capital of colonial India. By the end of the 19th century, half the imports and exports of India passed through Bombay. To mark their power and authority, the British built many buildings in Bombay reflecting their supremacy, authority, and power. Moreover, by constructing European-styled buildings, the British wanted to emphasize the vast gap between them as colonial masters and their Indian subjects. One important example of British style of architecture is the bungalow. The bungalow, used mostly by the government officers, was set in an extensive ground so that a distance can be maintained from the Indian world. The pitched roof with the surrounding veranda kept the bungalow cool in summer months. For public buildings, the British introduced a neoclassical style. Buildings like the Town Hall in Bombay and the Elephantstone Circle were made in this style. This style of building was characterized by pillars and arches that originally were the forms of Roman Empire. Another style used in Bombay was Neo-Gothic, characterized by high-pitched roofs pointed arches, and elaborate decorations. The Bombay Secretariat, University of Bombay, and High Court were built in this style. The best example of the neo-Gothic style is the Victoria Terminus, the central railway station of Bombay. Towards the beginning of the 20th century, another architectural style developed in Bombay. It was a mixture of the Indian and European style and called the Indo-Saracenic. The Gateway of India and Taj Mahal Palace were built in this style. The Gateway of India, built in the traditional Gujarati style, was constructed to welcome King George V and Queen Mary to India in 1911. The Indian localities of Bombay maintained the traditional styles of decoration. The lack of space in the city and overcrowding gave a unique style to Bombay. The chawl, the multi-storied single-room apartments. Such buildings housed many families. Sharing common spaces gave rise to neighborhood identity and solidarity. The hill stations. Hill stations were set up by the British where they could escape from the hot weather and enjoy the temperature and cool climate. The hill stations were also developed as sanatoriums, that is, place where soldiers could be sent for rest and recovery from illnesses. In the hill stations like Shimla, Darjeeling, Missouri, Dalhousie, the British and other Europeans tried to recreate the atmosphere of their home countries and cold climate of Europe. The buildings were made in European style. Villas and cottages set amidst gardens gave the hill station a European look. The churches, schools, and colleges also represented the British culture. Recreation activities like fetes, picnics, races, and visit to the theatres followed the British and European cultural traditions. Social life in the new cities. In these cities, new transport facilities such as horse-drawn carriages, trams, and buses meant that traveling was faster and easier in the cities. Cities were places of recreation, providing public parks and theatres. From the 20th century, cinema halls took up the task of providing exciting new way of entertainment and social interaction. In the cities lived the professional people belonging to the middle class. Teachers, lawyers, doctors, engineers, and accountants were the main population of the new cities. As educated people, they were aware of issues concerning society and government and could put forward their views via journals, newspapers, and public meetings. Cities provided opportunities for women. Education of women slowly gained ground, and women started working as teachers, nurses, factory workers, and theatre and film actresses. Another new class in the cities was the working class. They came to the cities looking for employment. Many were also attracted by the elite lifestyle and desired to see things they had never seen before. Life in the city was full of struggle. Jobs were uncertain, food was expensive, and places to stay were difficult to afford. But still, people from the rural areas flocked to the cities. Development of the means of transport and communication. The British realized that an efficient means of transport and communication was essential for India. So, they set up about improving the roads. Efforts were made to link by roads to the major cities, ports, and markets of the country. However, the real improvement in transport came with the coming of the railways. The first railway line running from Bombay to Thane was opened in 1853. Though railways were introduced for the quick movement of the army and for bringing the raw materials from the interior of the country and in selling British machine-made goods into the markets, this benefited the Indians tremendously. They could easily move from one part of the country to the other and learned to appreciate and understand each other's culture. Thus, railways helped in promoting nationalism. The British also established an efficient and modern postal system and introduced the telegraph system. The first telegraph line from Calcutta to Agra was opened in 1853. Thus, with the rise of colonial cities, transport and communication system was also modernized.